Preparing for a T-Mobile FP&A Analyst interview? You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 20 key questions you're likely to face. For each question you'll see a sample answer followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. Walk me through the role of FP&A at T-Mobile. FP&A helps T-Mobile convert operating activity into financial decisions. I would support the annual plan, rolling forecasts, monthly close analysis, management reporting, and investment evaluations. That means connecting postpaid net adds, churn, ARPU, device promotions, network spending, and headcount to revenue, EBITDA, cash flow, and guidance. I would also challenge assumptions constructively, explain variances clearly, and provide actionable recommendations rather than simply reporting results. While answering, focus on budgeting, forecasting, variance analysis, business partnering, management reporting, and translating operational telecom metrics into financial outcomes and decisions. Question 2. How would you build a revenue forecast for T-Mobile? I would build revenue from operating drivers rather than applying a blanket growth rate. For postpaid, I would forecast beginning subscribers, gross additions, churn, ending subscribers, and average subscribers, then apply ARPU assumptions. I would separately model prepaid, equipment revenue, roaming, and other service categories. I would incorporate seasonality, promotions, pricing changes, and management guidance, then reconcile the model against historical trends and investigate any unexplained gap. Make sure to cover subscriber cohorts, gross additions, churn, net adds, ARPU, device financing, prepaid and postpaid revenue, seasonality, pricing actions, and reconciliation to historical actuals. Question 3. Which KPIs would you monitor in T-Mobile's wireless business? I would monitor postpaid net additions, gross additions, churn, retention, average revenue per user, prepaid subscribers, upgrade rates, and device financing trends. I would connect those metrics to service revenue, equipment revenue, adjusted EBITDA, capital expenditures, and free cash flow. I would also track network quality and customer experience indicators because they can influence churn and acquisition. The important point is understanding the relationships, not viewing each KPI in isolation. In your answer, talk about postpaid net adds, churn, ARPU, subscriber growth, retention, device upgrades, network quality, prepaid trends, revenue, adjusted EBITDA, and free cash flow. Question 4. How do you analyze a monthly budget versus actual variance? I start by identifying material variances and separating timing, volume, price, mix, foreign or accounting effects, and true performance changes. For example, a marketing overspend may reflect a campaign pulled forward rather than a permanent run rate increase. I validate the explanation with the business owner, compare it with operational data, determine whether the item is recurring, and update the forecast if necessary. I then communicate the cause, impact, and recommended action clearly. Be sure to mention materiality, volume price mix analysis, timing, recurring versus one-time items, operational drivers, root cause validation, forecast updates, and concise communication to stakeholders. Question 5. What is the difference between revenue growth and subscriber growth at T-Mobile? Subscriber growth measures customer volume, while revenue growth reflects both volume and monetization. T-Mobile could add subscribers but experience modest revenue growth if new customers have lower ARPU or receive heavy promotions. Conversely, revenue could grow with limited subscriber additions through pricing, higher value plans, improved mix, or greater usage. I would analyze net adds alongside churn, ARPU, plan mix, promotional intensity, and equipment revenue before concluding whether growth is healthy. Focus on the distinction between customer volume and monetization, including ARPU, plan mix, pricing, promotions, device revenue, churn, and the effect of mix on financial performance. Question 6. How would you forecast postpaid churn? I would begin with historical churn by customer type, tenure, geography, and season, then identify structural changes such as network improvements, pricing actions, or competitor promotions. I would model churn against the subscriber base to estimate disconnects and ending customers, rather than treating it as an isolated percentage. I would create base, upside, and downside cases, test the effect on net adds and revenue, and compare assumptions with customer and operational evidence. While answering, focus on cohort behavior, historical seasonality, customer tenure, network experience, competitive activity, promotions, macroeconomic conditions, and sensitivity analysis around retention assumptions. Question 7. Explain how ARPU affects T-Mobile's financial forecast. ARPU is a key monetization assumption. A simple framework multiplies average subscribers by monthly service ARPU and then annualizes the result, while separately modeling equipment and other revenue. ARPU can change because of pricing, plan migrations, customer mix, discounts, usage, and promotional timing. I would analyze reported ARPU trends and bridge the movement into price, mix, and promotion effects. Small ARPU changes can materially affect revenue when applied across millions of subscribers. Make sure to cover average revenue per user, subscriber mix, pricing, plan migration, promotions, usage, timing, revenue sensitivity, and the distinction between service ARPU and total customer economics. Question 8. How would you evaluate the profitability of a handset promotion? I would compare the promotion's incremental economics with a no-promotion baseline. The analysis would include incremental gross adds, expected churn, service revenue, ARPU, device subsidy or discount, commissions, network costs, and customer acquisition expense. I would calculate contribution margin and customer lifetime value, then assess payback and cash timing. A promotion may reduce near-term margin but still create value if retention is strong and the incremental customer lifetime profit exceeds the upfront investment. In your answer, talk about incremental subscribers, customer lifetime value, device subsidy, service margin, churn, financing, acquisition costs, cash timing, and the promotion's payback period. Question 9. What is the relationship between adjusted EBITDA and free cash flow at T-Mobile? Adjusted EBITDA measures operating performance before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, and selected adjustments, while free cash flow reflects the cash available after important cash outflows. A simplified bridge starts with adjusted EBITDA, then subtracts cash interest, cash taxes, capital expenditures, working capital changes, spectrum or other payments, and relevant restructuring costs. Therefore, EBITDA growth does not automatically mean equivalent free cash flow growth, especially during heavy network investment or elevated working capital needs. Be sure to mention adjusted EBITDA as an operating profit measure, capital expenditures, cash taxes, interest, working capital, spectrum payments, restructuring, and reconciliation items. Question 10. How would you forecast capital expenditures for a wireless carrier? I would build CapEx from project level and functional drivers, including network densification, spectrum deployment, maintenance, information technology, stores, and facilities. I would incorporate approved project schedules, vendor commitments, construction milestones, expected in-service dates, and historical spending patterns. I would distinguish capitalized investment from operating expense and analyze cash timing separately from accounting recognition. Scenario analysis would show how changes in rollout pace or subscriber growth affect capacity requirements and free cash flow. Focus on network rollout plans, spectrum deployment, capacity needs, maintenance, construction timing, vendor commitments, capitalization policy, project milestones, and the distinction between cash CapEx and expense. Question 11. How would you assess the financial impact of a network investment? I would first define the strategic objective, such as improving capacity, coverage, customer experience, or market competitiveness. Then I would estimate incremental subscribers, churn improvement, ARPU impact, avoided operating costs, construction spending, maintenance, and implementation timing. I would evaluate NPV, IRR, payback, and downside cases, while recognizing that some benefits are indirect. Finally, I would establish post-investment metrics so actual network performance and customer outcomes can be compared with the original business case. Make sure to cover strategic rationale, coverage and capacity benefits, customer retention, acquisition, revenue uplift, operating costs, CapEx, useful life, NPV, payback, and measurable success criteria. Question 12. Tell me about a time you explained a complex financial result to a non-finance partner. In a prior project, a department was concerned about an unfavorable expense variance. I created a simple bridge separating a timing difference, a one-time vendor charge, and a genuine run rate increase. Instead of leading with accounting terminology, I explained how each item affected the forecast and what the team could control. We agreed on an updated spending plan and monitoring points. That experience reinforced that effective FP&A communication connects numbers to decisions. In your answer, focus on simplifying the message, linking financial results to operational drivers, using a clear bridge, confirming understanding, and recommending an action. Question 13. How would you approach T-Mobile's annual budgeting process? I would begin with strategic priorities and management targets, then translate them into operating assumptions for subscribers, churn, ARPU, headcount, marketing, network investment, and other costs. I would coordinate bottom-up inputs from business owners with top-down financial guardrails, challenge unsupported assumptions, and document ownership. I would create base and sensitivity cases, run review cycles, and reconcile the plan to historical performance. Clear version control is essential so decisions are made from one consistent forecast. While answering, cover strategic objectives, bottom-up assumptions, top-down targets, operating drivers, cross-functional alignment, scenario planning, review cycles, ownership, and disciplined version control. Question 14. How would you build a quarterly forecast update? I would lock the latest actuals, analyze the current run rate, and refresh assumptions for the remaining periods. I would update subscriber activity, churn, ARPU, promotions, headcount, vendor spending, network projects, and other material drivers. I would incorporate known launches, contract changes, seasonality, and timing items, then quantify risks and opportunities. Finally, I would compare the revised outlook with budget and prior guidance and explain the major changes in a concise bridge. Be sure to mention actual results, latest run rate, remaining period drivers, seasonality, known initiatives, risks, opportunities, management guidance, and variance from the approved plan. Question 15. What would you do if a business leader submitted an overly optimistic forecast? I would avoid rejecting the forecast based on instinct. I would compare the assumptions with historical performance, current subscriber trends, pipeline evidence, market conditions, and comparable initiatives. I would ask what operational actions support the improvement and build a sensitivity case showing the financial impact if those actions underperform. We could retain an aspirational target while presenting a probability-weighted forecast. If disagreement remained material, I would document both views and escalate transparently. Focus on respectful challenge, evidence-based assumptions, historical benchmarks, operational metrics, downside cases, transparency, escalation, and maintaining a collaborative relationship with the business partner. Question 16. How would you analyze the effect of inflation or higher interest rates on T-Mobile? I would separate direct and indirect effects. Higher inflation could increase labor, equipment, construction, and vendor costs, while weaker consumer affordability could affect upgrades, prepaid demand, or churn. Higher interest rates would increase the cost of refinancing and reduce the value of long-term investments. I would model sensitivities for costs, subscriber behavior, financing expense, and CapEx, then assess mitigation through pricing, procurement, spending prioritization, and timing. The output should identify both earnings and cash flow implications. In your answer, discuss labor and vendor costs, customer affordability, demand, device financing, debt interest, capital allocation, pricing, scenario analysis, and possible management responses. Question 17. How would you assess the impact of a major competitor's pricing change? I would identify which customer segments and plans are exposed, then estimate responses in gross additions, churn, ARPU, and promotional intensity. I would review historical elasticity, competitor positioning, network differentiation, and customer switching behavior. I would create scenarios ranging from limited reaction to a broader price response, including the effect on margin and cash flow. I would also monitor early indicators weekly or monthly, because competitive impacts may appear first in acquisition and retention metrics. Make sure to cover customer elasticity, churn, gross adds, ARPU, competitive response, segment mix, promotion economics, market share, scenario analysis, and the lag between actions and results. Question 18. What Excel or analytical tools would you use in this role? I would use Excel for driver-based models, including SUMIFs, XLOOKUP, index match, pivot tables, scenario switches, and sensitivity tables. I would structure inputs, calculations, and outputs separately, use checks, and make assumptions easy to audit. For larger datasets, I would use SQL, Power Query, or reporting tools to extract and validate information before modeling. I focus on repeatability and clarity, because a sophisticated model is only useful if stakeholders can understand and trust it. While answering, mention Excel modeling, pivot tables, XLOOKUP or index match, SUMIFs, scenario tools, data validation, SQL or dashboards, automation, auditability, and clear presentation of outputs. Question 19. How do accounting results and FP&A forecasts need to work together? Accounting provides the controlled actual results that FP&A uses to evaluate performance and update forecasts. I would understand key areas such as accruals, revenue recognition, capitalized costs, depreciation, lease treatment, and restructuring adjustments. During close, I would reconcile reporting data, investigate unusual movements, and ensure operational metrics align with financial results. Clear coordination prevents forecasting from starting with flawed actuals and helps distinguish accounting timing from genuine economic performance. Be sure to mention close accuracy, accruals, revenue recognition, capitalization, reconciliations, actual versus forecast analysis, accounting judgments, and using reliable financial data for planning. Question 20. Why do you want to join T-Mobile as an FP&A analyst? I am interested in T-Mobile because wireless combines recurring revenue, customer behavior, technology investment, and intense competition, creating meaningful FP&A questions. The role would let me connect metrics such as churn, net adds, ARPU, network spending, EBITDA, and free cash flow to business decisions. I also value an environment where finance partners closely with operating teams. My strengths in structured analysis, forecasting, and clear communication would help leaders understand performance and act on opportunities. In your answer, connect T-Mobile's competitive wireless market, customer-focused growth, network investment, analytical complexity, collaborative culture, and your own modeling, communication, and business partnering strengths. If you are still with us, congratulations. You are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.